Alrighty, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at Macomb City Hall tonight. My name is Mike Inman. I'm the mayor here in Macomb. I'd like to take just a moment and share with you some of the folks that are joining me up here on the city's patio. So to our distinguished guests that are here with us, Ms. Teresa Haley is the NAACP Illinois State Conference President. Ms. Haley, thank you for joining us. We also have Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police Executive Director Ed Wojcicki. Ed, thank you for being with us. The NAACP Illinois State Criminal Justice Committee Chairman, someone I want to talk to quite a bit because he's got some great stories, Mr. Robert Moore. McDonough County NAACP Branch President Byron Oden Shabazz. Byron. McDonough County Board Chairman Scott Schwer. Scott. WIU Interim President Dr. Martin Abraham. Dr. Abraham, thank you for being here. The City of Bushnell Mayor Robin Wilt. Excuse me, Robin. Thank you for being here. City of Colchester Mayor Francie Welch. Thank you, Francie, for being here. And then the folks on my right, to your left, would be Macomb Chief of Police Kurt Barker, Chief. McDonough County Sheriff Nick Pettigout. Illinois State Police Sergeant Brian Clausen. Bushnell Police Chief Joe Fosdick. Colchester Police Chief Michael DeWitt. The Interim Director of Public Safety at Western Illinois University, Chief Derek Watts. And we had one other person who is joining us here this evening, and the NAACP State Conference third Vice President, Ms. Diamond Jackson. Ms. Jackson, thanks for being here. I'd like to now give Ms. Haley an opportunity to come up and share some words with us tonight. Ms. Haley.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, you all. It is so good to be in the great city of Macomb, even though I lost cell service driving over here. It gave me an opportunity to relax and not do the work that we have to do this day in and day out. But I am so pleased to be here this evening. The NAACP has worked extremely hard to see these 10 principles come to life. And by signing the principles today, you're helping us contribute to that dream, that reality. It has been a long time coming that black and white folks continue to walk together, to march together, to pray together, and to just live together in harmony and justice and liberty for everyone. And that's one of the reasons why we're here today. After the Ferguson situation with Michael Brown, Ferguson, Missouri is just an hour and a half from Springfield. I am also the Springfield branch president as well as the state conference president. Why is that significant? In 1908, we had a race riot that took place in our hometown. It led to the establishment of what we know today as the National Advancement Association for Colored People. Think about it, NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. What does that mean? Look around. We've all had suntans. Look at your arms real quick. Look at your hands. Everybody look down. So what color are you? People ask all the time, why don't we change our name to the National Association of whatever? Why are we the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People? Because we all come in different shapes, sizes, and colors. The NAACP is just not about a black folk. It's about all folks coming together. It's about remembering people like Congressman John Lewis, who just took his life. It's about remembering Dr. Martin Luther King, who lost his life. It's about remembering all the freedom fighters, including those of you who are here today, who believe in justice and liberty for all. We are so pleased, the Illinois State Conference of the NAACP, when we started working closely with our Illinois Chiefs of Police to say that enough is enough. We have to do something. We have to make a change. And what can we do? So we started attending a conference in Tinley Park with the police departments across the state, and talking not only about the 10 principles, but the World Cafe and some of the other stuff that I'm not going to go in because I'm going to save it for the other speakers. But I must say what came out of that is, how can black folks and white folks continue to grow together, work together, and to live together? How can we continue to tear down those stereotypes that still exist in America today? We have come so far with these 10 principles, but we have so much further to go. And by being here today, it lets us know that we continue to be on the right track. So I just want to say to Macomb, your police department, your sheriff's department, your mayor, and my president, thank you all so much for your commitment and being here today. Thank you.
Ms. Haley has been a very good supporter of this community, and this is, I think, her third time she's been here with us, and we are very honored to have her here, especially this evening. Next, I'd like to ask Mr. Ed Wisky from the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. Ed.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. I want to just say three things really quickly. The reason that we're all here tonight is to build trust. And what we've been doing with these shared principles, and in the years before that when we were having conversations, we said we're going to build trust one conversation at a time. Second thing I want to say is I really commend everybody here from McDonough County who is doing this. We are encouraging local police departments to adopt these shared principles, and more than 200 have. But this is only the third county in the state of Illinois that tonight is adopting them with all the law enforcement agencies here together. Only three. The other two are Sangamon and Kankakee. So you have something good going here, and you may not recognize it like we do, but you really do, and I commend you for that. And, yes. And the third thing is, I know there's an awful lot of talk about changing this policy and changing that policy and looking at how we can make life better with different policies. But Teresa is my friend from Springfield, and Bob Moore is my friend from Springfield. And it's been our vision since we started this to be standing and sitting side by side exactly like we are tonight, because I really believe that the way that we're really going to address and overcome the racist problems that we have in this country is by building stronger relationships. Policies are one thing, relationships are even better, and we have great relationships with the NAACP, and I want to thank them. We talk and we can laugh at each other now because I know Bob's going to say something that I'm not going to like, and I'm just going to shake my head. I said, I know you're going to say that, Bob, because you say it every time we're somewhere. But we have a strong relationship now, and we can do that. And so I have hope because we have strong relationships. Thanks for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Ed. Now I'd like to ask Mr. Bob Moore, the State Criminal Justice Committee Chair for the NAACP, to join us.
Thank you, Ed. I'm really not going to say anything because I would like tonight. I am extremely pleased to be here with you all tonight. I used to come over here at Western so often when I was still with the Illinois State Police. I used to recruit at Western all the time, and so we have. I know this route quite well as we came tonight. I want to commend all of you, Mayor. I want to commend all the law enforcement agencies for taking the opportunity to come out and share with these 10 principles. And there's only a couple of things I want to say tonight, is that when you talk about principles, it is something that's long overdue that police departments should have. They should have a set of principles of which they can live by. So they need those principles so that the citizens can see what it is that they really stand for. Now, I looked up the definition of principles, and I want you to do the very same thing, because what it does, it tells us that principles are a set of behaviors that we are committing ourselves to. And so those 10 principles that which you are assigning tonight are things that you are committing your behavior to. Number one, it says that we value life. We value life above all other. Now, we have seen across this nation where that's not true in some areas. We've seen where people do not value life. But we are saying in Illinois is telling everybody that we value life. And the second thing I want to talk a little bit about is relationships. What we found as we go across the state, we found that minority communities, Afro-American communities, all kinds of communities, they want a relationship with their police department and their mayor's office. They want a relationship, but they want a positive relationship, not one that's marred by police brutality, not one that's marred by police excessive force. They want a relationship. And lastly, we hear it all the time. They simply want to be treated with dignity and respect. Simply want to be treated just like everybody else, with dignity and respect. So these are the principles of which you are signing on to tonight. These are the principles that you're telling Macomb that we're going to live by in this city, that we are going to not have discrimination, that we are going to utilize all our resources. So relationships, and trust. Relationships build trust. So as we sign these tonight, we are so pleased that Ed and I travel all over the state. We just came out of Carbondale. We just came out of Urbana. We just came out of Edwardville signing these principles with the city council. We did it by Zoom. We're heading to Elgin. We've been all over the state. So Ed and I are getting to know police departments, police chiefs, mayors all over. And we're just so pleased that we're able to come with you all tonight. So just remember, trust is what we're trying to build. Thank you.
Speaking about relationships and trust and accountability, someone I've grown to have a good, respectful relationship over the last year or two is the current branch president of the local NAACP, Mr. Byron Chabot. Byron?
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go in a little different direction. I'd like to remind us all of Reverend Dr. C.T. Vivian and John Lewis. As it relates to the police, I think they showed us what nonviolence and peace, what principle can stand for. And I believe that's the same relationship that we're all trying to develop right now with the police. What we got to see from those giants is it does not take to meet violence with violence to achieve a goal. But what's important in that is that we establish relationships, respectful relationships. Right? It's a new day, so we should be looking for new methods of building those relationships. And I can honestly say I've built great relationships with our police and our mayor, and I'd like the public to thank them, because when a lot of things have happened, I've gotten phone calls to say, this is what happened, if you'd like to see, how can you help? And those are the things that builds communities. And they've shown me personally, if we're going to build, we have to be willing to kind of go into that space that's uncomfortable. It doesn't mean that it's all going to get solved overnight, but I believe here in Macomb, and I really have to thank Madam President, because I spent a lot of nights with her on the phone, and I don't know how she knows, but when something's going on, she'll call me and say, hey, I'm just calling to check on you. Have you done this? I'm checking to see if this has happened. And all of that is the relationships that have been forged while I've been president and trying to understand it. And the whole thing has been to become that model city. And that's what myself and the mayor always talk about. What is the greater good? How do we make Macomb better? And again, things are going to go wrong. It doesn't mean that every stop is going to go correct. But I think as long as we acknowledge these principles and we talk about dignity and how we handle people, we can get better. And that's where we are right now. We're trying to get better. With that, I want to thank all of you. And all of you that traveled in to be with us tonight, I'd like to thank you. And again, to all the people that came out to support who we are, thank you very much.
Thank you, Byron. Now we're going to invite our law enforcement leaders individually to come up and read the shared principles they're about to adopt. Chief?
All right, thank you for coming tonight. Like the mayor said, before we sign the board, we'd like to go over what it says. Now be it therefore resolved that 6 law enforcement agencies in McDonough County, Illinois unite in adopting these 10 shared principles together, thereby informing all McDonough County residents of their desire to build trust by adding their names to the historic agreement between the Illinois NAACP and the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. These are the 10 shared principles. 1. We value the life of every person and consider life to be the highest value. 2. All persons should be treated with dignity and respect. This is another foundational value.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Sheriff Nick Pettigrew with the McDonough County Sheriff's Office. Principle 3, we reject discrimination towards any person that is based on race, ethnicity, religion, color, nationality, immigrant status, sexual orientation, gender, disability, or familial status. 4, we endorse the 6 pillars in this report of the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. The first pillar is to build and rebuild trust through procedural justice, transparency, accountability, and honest recognition of the past and present obstacles.
Sergeant Brian Clausen, Illinois State Police. Number 5, we endorse the 4 pillars of procedural justice, which are fairness, voice, which is an opportunity for citizens and police to believe they are heard, transparency, impartiality. Number 6, we endorse the values inherent to community policing, which include community partnerships involving law enforcement, engagement of police officers with residents outside of interaction specific to enforcement of laws, and providing problem solving that is collaborative and not one-sided.
Posdick, Chief of Police, Bushnell, Illinois. Number 7, we believe that developing strong, ongoing relationships between law enforcement and communities of color at the leadership level and street level will be the keys to diminishing and eliminating racial tension. 8, we believe that law enforcement and community leaders have the mutual responsibility to encourage all citizens to gain a better understanding and knowledge of the law to assist them with their interactions and law enforcement officers.
I'm Michael DeWitt with the Colchester Police Department. Principle number 9, we support diversity in police departments and in the law enforcement profession. Law enforcement and communities have a mutual responsibility and should work together to make a concerted effort to recruit diverse police departments.
Good evening, I'm Derek Watts, Interim Director of the Office of Public Safety at WIU. Number 10, we believe de-escalation training should be required to ensure the safety of community members and officers. We endorse using de-escalation tactics to reduce the potential for confrontations that endanger law enforcement officers and community members. And the principle of human life should be taken only as a last resort.
We're going to ask our law enforcement leaders if they would go down and sign the 10 shared principles. And once they're done, the rest of us here on will witness that, and then we'll individually sign documents up here. We'd be remiss if we didn't take just a moment to acknowledge one other person. You've heard several people mention here this evening the passing of Mr. John Lewis. We also had another notable distinguished member of the American Civil Rights movement pass away, who was, by all practical purposes, a native son to us here in Macomb. The Reverend Dr. C.T. Vivian passed away last Friday as well. If we could take just a moment of silence for Dr. Vivian. Thank you. We'd like to draw our event to a close here, but we want to make one other point that we're so grateful that Ms. Haley, Mr. Moore, and were able to join us tonight. The rest of you here, we want to thank you for coming out and being with us during this very important event this evening about building trust and about what we expect from our police in McDonough County. Thank you, everyone.